Well, as usual, I get a little excited about letting my chickies out. They don't have a covered pen yet, and they're utilizing the space that was still here. We didn't take it down. Trey and I are having this be one of our projects this week. We're still growing out some, this is our hayseed that we planted. We've got grass and clover and alfalfa growing. So I went through and weed whacked it all down this week, so that the little chicks aren't lost in a great big forest, but we've got little bits of some ragweed growing, and I didn't want that taken off and going to seed. And it is a cloudy, hot day. We've got great big cumulus clouds and storms coming in later, but that's probably another 5 to 7 hours off. So I thought, oh, one of them just went through the fence. I wanted to test to see on this 2x2 fence if they were big enough to stay in, but they're going right through it. We have been getting aerial attacks, and of course they can land all over this barn, the hawks. So I was being careful of that, and I haven't seen the hawk around in a while since the ducks disappeared, because the hawk was hiding right up here in the loft and waiting for the ducks to come out. So some of my summer repairs this year, working up there. But I just wanted to see how the chickies would do outside on the grass. But I really didn't think that they would escape through the 2x2 fencing. So they're still a little small, but they're pecking at the ground. They're doing what chickens do. And the reason I did this is the last 2 days, they have 2 feeders that are about a gallon or 2 each, filled full of grain, and they're just pecking it all out, scratching it all out onto the ground in their pen. So we'll let them play outside for a little bit. The clouds are kind of moving in, and I think there might be some inaccuracies in the weather. This could be moving in much earlier than 5 or 6 o'clock. And it's only about 11 right now in the morning. Well, here's some little chickies doing a test run. I have the blocks here because you could see like the bottom of the siding. It got so old and rotted at the bottom that they were coming detached. See how that bottom gets all chewed up? Well, the raccoons and stuff, you can see where the paint's missing, were clawing at it, trying to get in there at the ducks. So I had the hardware cloth going all around on the inside, but we're going to have to put some new siding on this. What? Yeah, he knew how to get in, because they've gotten out through there before. Aren't they mischievous little birds? Look at that, they're on the other side of the fence. They're still too small, Bethy. They're getting out. Be careful of the ends of the fence so that it doesn't scratch you. Yep. They're still small. You're rounding them all back up outside. Well, I'm glad they didn't all come out, because now I know that they're a little small. Look at him. He says, where are you guys at? Where'd you go? Yeah. In you go. Put him in. It's okay. Look at these guys. Put him in. No, put him in. So we're going to make this a square pen. I have panels of roofing or shade awning, and it is 6 feet by 25 foot rolls. And I bought it off season at Tractor Supply and bought the clamps. The clamps just make it so that they're like a big staple for the cloth. And you use them at the top of patios or pergolas. Look at these guys. They all ran back in here. All right, lots of chickies waiting for some food. They get quite low in a short amount of time. I usually give them a scoop or two. They get some straw and nastiness in their water, so I dump that out. And if they need fresh straw for bedding, then I give them that. They like to follow me, so you gotta watch that. Here we've just got my feed bin. You see he grinds it right from that chute. So right here's my nice grain. I don't have my ladder right now, so I'm just standing on a broken bale of straw. You get by as fast as you can in a day. The water tote is just about where I want it. So I try to keep an eye on my water so I don't have a lot of waste as I work, because I've been known to flood pens. So to not dump this out in here, I just take it out by the barn door. And if you have something that you want to dump it into, it's great for your plants. But see, it's all just brown yucky water. It got cold last night, so I had the door closed. We've had a raccoon visiting us again, but I had to buy a different brand of fly killer. So I'm finding empty bowls all knocked over the farm today. And this fly killer did not do the trick. The blue Malrin is the one that works. Alright, so that'll get them by for the rest of today for having clean water. And this is just setting on the floor right now. I need to get a brick underneath it because they're taller. So we'll find something for that. This one, same thing, we'll do the exact same job. If you don't, I'll tell you, it starts getting stinky. This font's a little bit different. Okay. Check them here, see? Warm enough to turn the lamps off. So here's a nice little update for you on the chicks. It's been about a week and a half, I guess, since I showed them inside, maybe 2 weeks. Time is flying because we have been doing hay nonstop. It's summertime, so there's summertime things to do with the kids. And the whole time, we are filling our freezer by growing these chicks up. So the weeds kind of got out of hand in here. Trey's hayseed that he planted had plenty of grass that is growing up. This was completely barren. So it's nice and green. It was too tall. I opened the door for him yesterday and thought I would get out here with the weed whacker. About 4 hours had gone by, and those little chicks would only stay up here where there's a small concrete pad extending off of the barn. So last night, I knocked it all down and I let them out today, and they are just playing and having fun. I have figured out the breeds of my chicks. I've got Barred Rocks, Australorps, Isa Browns, and Silver Laced Wyandottes. I love the Silver Laced Wyandottes. I did not get any Rhode Island Reds, which are usually my favorite, and I like the Buff Orpingtons a lot too. But to save money, you get about $1 off a chick by ordering straight run and mixed breeds. So they just grab a handful out of everything. I think for me they did 25 of each type because we had ordered 100. And of course, like you see there, that's a little roux. That little roux is going to be in the freezer. Some of them are stragglers and they're quite small. And we just kind of had to go off of the average. This is 2x2 fencing. And they were still getting through the fence. I have a low spot over here where the concrete and the ground meet. And I've always for years tried to fill it in with rocks. But one or two always seem to make it through. And I've got a woodchuck living in the barn under the manure pile. So I've been working on that, trying to get rid of that. The hawk is usually right up there at the top of the roof every morning. So these guys are having their first venturing out just today. I have tried to get husband out here to shoot that stupid hawk. He has killed enough of my ducks in the spring that I wasn't going to feed him one more meal. This is going to have a roof put on it. So we're going to have to reconfigure this to be able to make it so that it is the width of the 2x4 fencing or of some kind of netting material. The netting material, I've thought about deer fencing is a great way to go. It's real lightweight and I could probably suspend it just with clothesline string or something temporarily. But I'd really like to just have it built and have it long term so we don't have to go back over it every spring because I love to have my baby chicks in the spring. It was really hard to hold off as long as I did, but I was holding off because of that hawk and I was holding off because of the cold. So they're doing really well. The girls should be laying in about 6 to 10 more weeks. Usually they're on the far end of the spectrum. I'd say about 21 weeks is usually average for the egg layers. But see, these guys are just right over in the grass. You can't hardly see them because it's so tall. They're having a good little time pecking for bugs. I decided that they had to come out because they've actually been attacking each other. If you're overcrowded, they will start to kill each other. And I lost about 4 in the last week, and it's been about every 3 or 4 days one would show up dead. Not a good situation. 100 birds is a lot to grow out, and they're going to need more space than that. So right now we're going to be looking at what I can do to divide this into 2 separate runs and to divide their coop so that I can separate my hens from my freezer chicks. Because the roosters will interfere with the hens laying eggs. See, like, look at those 2 right next to each other, the barred rocks. They're the black and white ones. They're both hatched the same day. They come to you right from the hatchery. Now, the little light-colored one, I believe, is a rooster. He's got lots of fuzz all over around his neck. And the other one appears to be a hen. She's very smooth. She's not fluffy around the neck. And they all have a little comb, but the roosters have a much more pronounced comb. Okay, back to my evening jobs. I was so worried about that stupid hawk that I wasn't letting him out. Huh? I always forget about my hoses. So, I ended up forgetting about the chicks and leaving them outside. Well, they go in on their own anyway, but I didn't come out and latch the door 3 nights in a row. Wouldn't you know, I did not lose a single chick.
And
So here is a final update for you on my chickens. We are near the end of the year. We're going to have a little bit of time from New Year's to be able to do some butchering. And there's still some varied sizes, but I'd say a good portion of these hens, and there are a few roosters also, that they are ready. So we did the straight run, and some of the hens are big, a couple of the roosters are big, but I have got a black rooster in there, and he has been starting to crow, and he is the first one to do so. I like the sound of him, but I think he's gotten a little bit mean. I had a couple of days where I actually ran out of water during the night. Here's a new rooster that has turned up. New meaning they seem to be suppressed by the dominant rooster, and there's always one ahead of the rest of the pack. So there are, like, those two hens right there next to each other. The one behind is way smaller, half the size of the one to the front. And a lot of the hens should be laying eggs. We've gone into winter and I'm not using artificial light sources for them. And I don't really care. Honestly, I'm kind of over the collecting the eggs. The homesteading part of it, all that stuff, it's really fun until nobody else gets involved. And I can pick up 60 eggs at Walmart for $2.37. Now, I don't generally shop for groceries at Walmart, but I did notice when I was in there picking up a few things one night that these groups of people were buying several boxes of the 60 count eggs, and so I looked into it and couldn't believe how cheap the eggs were. Now, I usually pay about $2.50 a dozen. We have a neighbor that raises chickens, and they sell them off at a farmer's market, so we like to get them direct from them. And it's brown eggs, white eggs, green eggs, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people have said, oh, you gotta have brown eggs for higher nutritional value, and that is not true. Every egg is the color it is from the hen that it comes from. So white chickens, white eggs, red chickens, brown eggs. You kind of get the idea there. So these are some pretty good sized birds, and if you're ever not sure about when they're ready to butcher, pick them up and feel them. Some of them, like that little hen there in the middle, right there, is real small and bony, and with these you can tell they have breast meat. And if you don't do it, and they end up like a year old, 2 years old, they get tough. And I do all of my roast chicken in the crock pot just to save myself time at meal prep, but it is way, way better than roasting it fast, even if it's a younger hen, even if it's a grocery store hen, to get them done in the crock pot. So I really, really recommend that. I stand behind my recommendation that I made at Christmas. Get yourself a crock pot if you don't already have one. So these are a couple of barred rocks. Those are the silver lace Wyandottes, black Australorp, and I believe they are some kind of a Red Ranger, Freedom Ranger, something like that, because they're not as orange as a New Hampshire. They could be ice browns. I wasn't real sure about it because honestly they did not pack a packing list. We have a friend joining us right now. Yeah. Hi, kitty cat. This is Cricket, and Cricket was born here, and if you saw the first garage door video, Cricket came back to live. So I actually had given her away when she was about 3 months old. We had way too many cats. We were up to about 12 or 15 cats. And winter was coming, so I sold some hay to some people that were starting their own little homestead. And winter came this year, and her children were bringing cat hair in the house, making the dad sick. So I offered to take her back, and she is a great mouser. Another subscriber had commented about the cats not mousing. I think it was the same subscriber that commented about the raccoons being immune. So she's a great mouser. I have found dead mice. She leaves them right out in the yard for me. Sometimes she eats them. I have found chewed up mice in their poo in the yard. So we had some leftover sugar from that project, and I dumped my whole container of baits on top of them, and that's how I figured out. So look at this giant mess. I had a bunch of hay bales stacked in here in this old feed room. This is where Sprout was housed when she was a baby, and it was totally full of hay. There was about 30 bales of hay in here, all packed on top of this and around it. I came out after a couple of days of it being exposed, tore right up. Nothing dead in here. A mouse did not do this. It was the raccoons or the possums, and I know that because there was little footprints all over the top. So I told husband he'd forgotten about it. He got the whole field done, but he always said, I'll go back with the rest and get it all spread. It is actually the beginning of winter. It's been super muddy, and we can't get that tractor out into the field and then get it stuck way out there. We've done a couple of cultivations on it, and it's pretty mucky, and I just can't imagine what maple syrup season is going to be. You know, that's what I live for, but it has been so wet and so gross. I just want to get yards and yards of gravel delivered to make roads around here, and I'm seeing the need more and more for the tractors with the heavy-duty treads instead of truck vehicles for the farm, because, you know, I had originally thought about getting like a quad or even a snow sled for doing maple syrup, and there is no way. If you don't have snow, you can't use a snowmobile at all. And the last couple of winters we end up with a couple of days, and then the rest of the road area gets rutted up. So how are you going to do it without snow? So the tractor's the way to go. He actually just brought up this tractor to do some work on it, and we are doing a clutch repair on another tractor, and the parts just came. He got it tore down and decided that he wanted to do a little more replacement parts once he got into it, but he's got the clutch cover off of this so that he could look into it, and I believe he said he was going to put a water pump on it. I forget. We have multiple tractors that need multiple parts, and with that garage door getting taken care of, this is what we are working on. Lots and lots of vehicle repair. Everyone thinks that farmers kind of take it easy during the winter, and you're just kind of wrapping things up or getting ready for the next thing. So for us in the winter, it's cleaning out the barns more, and I did so much cleanup around this place this year that it's nice to look back and reflect on what I did do, because it makes what's left behind, it makes me feel better about it, because I know it's half of what was here at the beginning of the season. Like right now I've got a pile of hoses that I have to get rid of, and I didn't really want to burn them because I could use them in the maple woods on wires around trees so that that wire doesn't dig into the tree. But in the meantime, it's awful ugly to look at, and I think I'm going to probably just clean them up, or maybe my husband could take them to work and put them in the dumpster. I don't know. But anyways, they've all got to go. They've got to get cleaned out. So now that the chickens are all getting big on a day like today, it's in the 40s today. So with our garage doors up, we can set up poultry setups indoors and kind of work on them in there. We can even run a hose and make a spout to get all the water out from that, or just pluck them by hand. You know, in the wintertime, sometimes it's easiest to just do a couple at a time. But that rooster is going to get real tough real fast, and I don't want to come out and find that I have dead chickens because they're fighting each other at all. That's just the worst to have to come into. Not a good way to start your day. So this is what's going on around here. What do you got going on at your farm today? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like. Remember to subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.